Hey, YouTube. It's your girl Duchess back for another review. Thank you so much for joining my channel for all things entertainment and conversations that inspire progress and more conversations that help our community grow from a viewer's perspective with knowledge across multiple areas. But I love people, I love the human experience. I think that there's so much that we can glean from the not so pleasant and the pleasant. So I talk about all types of TV shows and things on this channel. And then we kind of use some of the representation to have more conversation. And today, we are going to be kind of delving into those breakout rooms and breakout conversations using Love and Marriage Huntsville. But right now, I am here with the Braxtons, the recap from season 1, episode 4, Family Legacy. Before we get started, don't forget to check the community wall. It is bonus questions times, trivia. I am running a promotion. So $100 plus a bomb bonus gift could be yours. And don't worry, if you don't get to the gist of it right now, it's going to keep running back. So, um, for your first trivia question, what is Mr. Braxton's profession? And just drop the answer in the comment. Don't give the question. We don't want to give any clues. And if you don't know his profession, I will be sharing that information later in this review. So let's get into the review. Von, Trina, Towanda, and Sean, they are in Maryland and they are at a rental, an Airbnb rental. And so they're kind of just sitting around talking, getting acclimated to the space. And Tawanda and Sean are going to a hotel because Sean mentions he is not trying to see Vaughn in the middle of the night in his tube socks and bats and balls. And Trina thinks it's so disgusting that he keeps saying it. And he's like, why are you so disgusted with his balls? Like the four of them and seeing them in this element, I could watch them. I mean, they could almost have their own reality show, the way that they relate to each other and how comfortable they are. So I loved it. To want to notice Vaughn isn't wearing his ring. So they get into, he says that he didn't lose it. Trina's like, you did lose it. Tawanda tells her to let him explain. And I don't know what was different about his explanation other than he lost it. I guess because it's really not lost, it's in the house somewhere or something like that. But you could tell this man is married and committed, even if he doesn't have that ring on. But Vaughn said he gonna find it because he don't like the implication, of course. Tawanda and Sean, they leave for their hotel, and Trina. Oh, Trina wants them. They're there to support little Kevin because little Kevin, there has been a lot going on with him. And of course, there's a lot of concern with how he's doing around his mother's passing and that piece. He's going through a messy divorce. He's been arrested. They're kind of keeping that in the family business. And I love that they're doing that. But that's really what they're there for. So they are going to go and do some go kart riding or something like that, have some fun, and then they're going to meet later for a more serious dinner to rally around little Kevin. So Tony checks in with which one? Trina. Because I'm telling you, when I'm doing these reviews, Tracie name be on my tongue. And I don't know if it's because of all these T's or what. But Tony checks in with Trina and they're talking about Big Kevin. Tony thinks that it could be beneficial to learn what is the issue between Kevin and Big Kevin. And Trina has the answer. She has been there. We know that she was there up until Tracie's final moments. And so she has a good handle on it and she doesn't think that it's worth visiting. This man did not honor her wishes. He has ignored what her wishes are. And he's not happy with what she left in the will in terms of her son versus him and who would be in charge. And there's a rift there. And Trina doesn't think that he has a leg to stand on because she knows what went down. His argument appears to be that she made this decision because she was not in all of her faculties. But Trina is standing 10 toes down that her decisions were made when she was very well and in her state of mind before her health started to decline. So she appreciates Tony for wanting to be the peacemaker. That is always Tony's position. And so they kind of just agree to disagree, but Tony asks if they can agree to have the conversation later. And I like the way that she put that. And Trina gives her that. You know, if the entire family wants to agree to have this conversation with Big Kev, she's up for it. But it's an easy digress for her because she don't think that it's going to happen. Anyway, I love that she's 10 toes down for her nephew in the absence of her sister. So, y'all, of course, y'all going to hear these papers because I take notes and I have to turn the page. So they're at go kart racing. And it's funny to me that this is Trina's idea, but she is the slowest one. I mean, she is driving this thing like talk about Miss Daisy. That was so funny for me. Sean is like, oh my God, Trina, get out of the way. Like she sucked. But according to Trina, y'all gonna be the one with the high insurance premiums because she has a good driving record and she don't mind driving slow. So Trina asked, they're kind of sitting around like having a meal like after they do the go-kart thing. Tawanda bought barbecue for her man. I thought that was sweet. And Vaughn is making him share, of course. And so Trina's like, hey, so where the wedding bells at? You know, the last time we had the Braxtons, Braxton family values, yeah, this was kind of like your plan. Sean acts like he's hard of hearing. He's like, huh? Say what? And so they get into, him asking her dad for look, I get all tongue tied. Her dad for her hand in marriage. Yes, I got that out right. And so he's like, yeah, we had that conversation and it was a very serious conversation. And so Vaughn says, so you went and asked that man for permission to do something that you weren't going to do? I loved his way of holding him accountable for the time span that it has been since he's asked. Like he asked, like they were going to be getting married right away, and clearly nothing has happened. They're still in boyfriend girlfriend, you know, um, stage. So I love how he had his sister in laws back, and that's why I said Vaughn is my type of guy because he is just like this calm, gentle giant. He doesn't really get rattled much. Even when he's upset, it's not an emotional response. And I appreciate that representation. Excuse me, because we don't always get that. So I love that he said that because it really was true. And, Sean is just taking his time. He appears to have a plan or whatever. And Tawanda is definitely not going to ask him or pressure him. She said that's something that you don't do is pressure a man to marry you. That's the last thing you should do. So she's just kind of being patient. Tamar is in a podcast interview, and I like this interview for her. I can say that I like that Tamar appears to be doing some filming of just kind of like her own projects on her own. I get to see that fun side of Tamar that I like. And so I enjoyed her in this episode. So anyway, they ask her about, you know, um, her joining the WeTV space again and what kind of got her to agree with it. And I appreciate this question because I was reminded that when Tamar had her like her own show that I vaguely remember that it was a not so pleasant ending, like almost with the similar to Nene and the Bravo situation. It seemed like they had some of that going on. So for me, I am happy to see that they've kind of bridged that and she has this opportunity because this was something that Tracie wanted. And I wouldn't have thought we TV would have really, if I'm honest, allow her back to film from what I remember the situation to be. So I'm glad they were able to get past that. And if there were some strings pulled, I appreciate that because I think that this will be good for with Tamar and some of her antics for a lot of viewers to kind of see her in these vulnerable spaces and get the other side of her. So anyway, she says it was family. It was something that Tracie wanted, and her mom came to her humbly and asked her, and she wants to do, even though her experience of the Braxton family values and how it portrayed her wasn't pleasant, she still wanted to show up for her family. And I believe her when she says that. So I was grateful for that question. Let's see. Okay, so let me make sure I didn't. Oh, that was the other thing. So they also asked her because Tamar is championing her mental space and her boundaries and the things that she puts in place to kind of keep herself in a healthy space and not to act out. So they mentioned that. And she says that she has a therapist on deck. Like she recognized that she's easily triggered. She's easily triggered with her family. And she recognized that about herself. So the therapist is always there when she's filming. And, it's a good shout out to her for being that cognizant of how fragile she may be in certain spaces. And so to me, she's doing whatever it takes to protect her image and also to protect her peace. And I'm happy for her in that sense. So the family is at dinner. I thought that they had rented this Airbnb because they were going to have a family dinner. That's just kind of what I thought. But anyway, they're at this restaurant. Mr. Braxton shows up, and Towanda and Sean are there first. And Sean is happy to see him, like he's dapping him up, and, they have pleasant greetings. And they sit down and waiting for the rest of the family arrive. And Mr. Braxton don't waste any time. He's got the wedding bell question too. I kind of low key expected it, but I figured that because they were having dinner that he wouldn't get into it, but honey, these men being men, I absolutely love it. So Sean was taken back a little bit. And you could tell that he was kind of choosing his words. And he said that he wanted to make sure that Tawanda was happy. And I'm thinking, how many years do you need to do that? And Tawanda recognizes where the conversation is going, so she kind of heads on out. She excused herself to the restroom, and I like that she did not insert herself in the conversation, and that she gave them the freedom to talk freely as men. I, I can read a lot into any moment for sure, but what she was communicating by just giving them that moment, I love that from a lady's perspective. So Sean says that he has his plan and he is going to do something. And he didn't give us an inkling of what time frame he had, but I mean, clearly he has to know he needs to do something. So the rest of the family arrive. Mikey is there. Hey, Mikey. I was happy to see him because as I watched them kind of process this piece about, Tracie and going through her final moments, I've often wondered how is Mikey doing. So I was really happy to see Mikey. And I see why we don't get to see much of him. Mikey has a whole family. Like his wife is there, his children are there. There is a little Mikey who seems to be about the same age as Kevin. And then there's a smaller one. So I wasn't quite sure if that was Mikey's baby. He seems to be like a toddler, maybe age, 2, something like that, maybe 3. 3 is generous. Um, or if it was like a grandbaby or something for him. But I was really happy to see Mikey's family. Um, so Kevin, everybody's there, and they're talking to Kevin Jr. Let's see. So as they kind of get into some of um some of his struggles, like what is we want to know what's going on with you. You know, we want you to know that we're here for you, and no matter what you have going on, you don't have to go through it alone. Like we are your family, and we love you, and we're here to support you. And so he recognized that. Um, it's obvious when he starts talking that he's still grieving for his mom, and I appreciate Towanda in her confessional where she says that you can't put a time stamp on it. You just really can't. Um, and so I love the grace that they're giving him because it's been 2 years and it can really be like yesterday. So I love the grace that they're giving him, and they're not pushing him or giving him any kind of pressure. They really are just there rallying around him for support. I love that Mikey's son, who appears to be the same age as Kevin, I love that he asked him, "So, what can we do to support you as your family?" And I like that because it's kind of like the next generation, like this is something that his dad could have approached. But for him to do that for his cousin, it's like the next generation, and it speaks to what they've instilled in their family, that these family values and this showing up for each other, and not in a way that we can hold it against you or hold it, throw it back in your face, or make you feel reluctant to reach out when you need help because you don't know how people will respond or what it will make you look like they are kind of putting on a clinic on how not to do that. And this younger man asking his cousin, "What can we do as your family?" I love that moment. Um, so anyway, he talks about how when he reaches out is normally an emergency. And Trina asked him, "So why is that? Like, why can't we get a call when it's not an emergency? Like, why does it have to get to that point?" And he said, he knows that they're going through their own process and they're grieving. So he really doesn't want to be a burden. And as a man, he should be able to handle these things on his own. And so he does everything that he can to kind of get past that or fix the problem. And sometimes he's not successful. And then he has no choice but to reach out. So his granddad, Mr. Braxton, who is a pastor, trivia bonus, that's your answer. He says to him, "Listen, we're not going to figure it out for you." And I thought that that was important because when young boys are kind of, they're trying to make that hurdle from boy to man, especially for mothers who parent sons alone, that's the biggest thing, is to allow them to to kind of figure it out, just to kind of be that safety net and that support system from a perspective of you're not alone. This isn't an experience no one has experienced before. We've all been through it, and you will figure it out. And we're here with you no matter how hard that may be. So I love that moment, and I love that he got to say that to him. Um, okay, and we talked about the next generation. he understood it, and they talked a little bit about his dad, who is a hindrance in this process in more ways than one, Big Kevin. So they talked a little bit about that. And I think someone made, oh, I think it was Mr. Braxton who had asked him, you know, about his father and what's going on with there. He suspects that there may be a rift there. And Kevin explains, yes, there is. Um, she left Tracie left everything to little Kevin, including all of her arrangements and everything else. Anything that had to do with her brand, her likeness, I'm assuming her money and her estate, she left it all to her son. And Big Kevin has an issue with that. And to me, it sounds like from this episode, he's shown some um, defiant kind of responses in terms of like her funeral arrangements. She wanted something private, not very public. He went very public with it and put it on the internet. Um, she didn't want her sorority sisters, and she did not want a lot of attention. And the way the way Trina put it was she didn't want people looking down on her grieving. Said she wanted to be celebrated. And he did the opposite. And it wasn't even his right to do, because although he was her husband, she left, she was very clear on what she wanted to be done. And he didn't honor that. And also took it away from his son to be able to kind of do that for his mom. I forgot to mention that that came up in Tony and Tracie's, not Tony, Tony and Trina's conversation when Tony did her check-in. And I like Tony's perspective because for her, you never really know what goes on in marriages or what can be communicated when we're not there. And so she's extending him some grace because she can't confidently say that he didn't get a different feel or direction from his wife. And I appreciate that perspective, although it doesn't seem to be true. I like that Tony is kind of hanging out in that gray area and thinks it warrants a conversation. So, anyway, they all have his back. And Tawanda doesn't appreciate the stance that Big Kevin has taken, because it's like he's punishing their son for her mom's for his mom's for her wishes. Like that's not his fault. And he's punishing him for that. And Tawanda doesn't like that at all. And I don't blame her. But shout out to the Braxtons for giving us a healthy perspective on how to really come through as a family and just be a support system and create a safe space for this young man. Um, and not come from a perspective of, okay, so we doing this for you, and we're here for you, and that kind of thing. They're not making him feel indebted for their support. And I love that. Absolutely loved it. So Tamar is at the gym. She says she's fat. Tamar looks fine to me. But I mean, I get it. She's working out, and she's working out with, I guess, maybe like an assistant or something like that. She's coming out with a new album. I'm here for that because I love Tamar's voice. And that I think it was Blackbird album, I really listen to that a lot. So I'm here for the music that she's putting out. She's also doing this book, and this isn't the first time that I've heard about her writing a book. And she says that it's, her being really vulnerable and, taking ownership for the spaces that she's been in. Like she's doing some self reflection and holding herself accountable. And if I'm honest, I have to be honest, y'all. And I'm going to tell you, I don't perceive to be an expert at all. If you disagree, please drop in the comment or even join the live and tell me what you think. I'm so not that girl. But I have to be honest, as she's saying that it's about a lot of self reflection and taking ownership for her relationships and, what really happened in her marriage, what really happened in reality TV. I wonder if we're actually going to get that. Because don't get me wrong, I enjoy Tamar. I enjoy her music. I enjoy her quirky dancing and going all out even when she may not get it right. Just her being comfortable and living in her truth. Absolutely love that about her. But at the same token, I don't get her taking responsibility for how she contributes to some of her own chaos. I haven't seen that from her. Um, and not that I have a lens on her all the time, but I just have not seen not any moment as much as we've seen Tamar on our TV screen. So I'm not excited about the book. I am excited about the movie, but the book, I'm like, is it gonna really be authentic, Tamar? I'll be looking for the reviews and what y'all say about it. I thought I'll be reading that book. I do like seeing her film by herself and in her own element, working on her own thing. She's completely in her element. She's all the way Tamar Braxton live. And I so enjoy that. I guess I can see the difference in how she comes across when she's triggered and with her family and her defenses are up and whatever else that may be going on with her. So I do like this, and I hope that we get some fun moments because they did talk about that in the podcast that they missed the fun moments, and I miss it too. So I enjoyed that. Anyway, little Kevin and Trina are meeting with the family attorney. This was good. I love that Trina was with him. He didn't go by himself. Let me tell y'all something. I love how these aunties are showing up for this boy. He's a grown man, but they are right there with him. And I just can't say enough how much I appreciate the representation of family and support that these Braxtons are giving to us. Love it. Anyway, they're meeting with the attorney, and we get a little bit more into what is going on with him and Kevin. So, Kevin sounds like this is Big Kevin. He is challenging that will because he doesn't believe that Tracie was in her sound mind. Lil Kevin is like, his mom has told him from since he was a little boy, if anything happened to me, that I'm going to leave everything to you. He's always known that. So it wasn't a surprise when the attorney told him, "Listen, your mom cooked me oxtails and some jerk food or whatever she cooked in her kitchen. I visited with her a lot. This was long before we she was being ill, and she absolutely wanted you to have control over everything. Not even any of her sisters. I would think she would have left it to Toni Braxton because Toni Braxton would be the person that there definitely wouldn't be a question about anything sinister or doing the right thing. So she left it to her son. That speaks volumes. Um, and so much is so that she gave the attorney permission to record her. And he did exactly that. So they're going to be putting this thing to bed with Big Kevin. And as they're having this conversation and the challenges that he's going through with his dad, I'm kind of reminded one, I'm like, you go, Tracie, for taking care of your only child in this world and standing up to this man in whatever way that she had to do that. Because I'm also reminded that I thought that I don't really care to speak on people's marriages, so I'm just going to put it this way. I thought that there were some things that were going on in that marriage before Tracie got sick that warranted a divorce. Like there was a lot of stuff kind of circling about, you know, just some extramarital things. So as they're having this conversation, and seeing that she was willing to have herself recorded because she suspected that there would be an issue later, I love that she took care of business that way. So it doesn't sound like there's going to be a question soon. I mean, there could be, but it won't be any legs to stand on. So I was like, good for her and good for Kevin. Kevin stood 10 toes down. He was like, listen, you married into this family. I was born into it. This is my legacy. And he's not going to let his dad take that away from him. And I was proud of him for that. So were they. They mentioned how much he's grown just in the time that the attorney last saw him, which was the mom's passing. So they acknowledged that, and I was happy about that piece. So anyway, Trina and Vaughn, they get back to the house, and Tawanda and Sean cannot wait to get there and get the tea. So Trina tells Tawana about, from her perspective, it looks like it's this tug of war between little Kevin and Big Kevin. And the person who's pulling the rope the is the dad. And Tawanda's not surprised, and she also speaks how low that is to put your child through that. Like, it is not his fault that his mom favored him. He doesn't have anything to do with that. And so, in addition to the grief of it all, and you being the only parent left to kind of put him through that, baby, she got smoke for this man. So Trina also mentioned that production wanted little Kevin to film with his dad and their dad, and Tawanda went off. She was like, get in here now. And you kind of, when you're watching reality TV, I know for me, I forget that there are producers and stuff kind of standing by or whatever. So they were in the house, and she was like, under absolutely no circumstances does this man get a platform to speak about my family on our platform. Like, she didn't say hell to the no, but she might as well have said it, because she was like, don't push me. And I love seeing that side of Tawanda, because we know Tawanda handles business. She was Tony's assistant for a long, long time. And she always seems to be the sister that is the most emotionally mature, no matter what is happening around them. And she is the keeper of all secrets. So I love the position that Tawanda has in this family. And I suspect that these producers do not want to play with this woman. And he was very clear, absolutely not. If that's what you say, ma'am. Like, I felt the heat through the TV screen, baby. She was hot, and I don't blame her. Um, so I don't think we'll see anything from little Kevin. I mean, Big Kevin on this, as we get through these Braxtons and their episodes. Um, and I've heard some of the things in social media or whatever, just a little bit. Like, whenever I hear his name and anything negative, I kind of tune out. But I know that he's out there talking. And, given what I see of his personality, I'm not surprised. But I hope no one really takes what he says and holds it against this family, because I'm 10 toes down for the Braxtons, y'all. And that's the end of episode 4. I didn't cry not one single moment. I was so proud of myself. It was a really good episode. I love the theme of family and the legacy. Tamar mentioned that too, that she is a Braxton, and that's part of her legacy. And although her experience may not be what she would have liked it to be, she's still 10 toes down for her family for the most part. We know Tamar gonna run her mouth, and we may not always like what she says. And I try to come from a perspective of, her experience is what her experience is, and she's entitled to express that. Would I like to see a different form of expression? Absolutely. But it's not my experience, so it's not my place to speak on it, because then I get over into the judgment of it all. And that's something I work really, really hard not to do, because, I mean, I'm not going to preach, but my Lord and Savior, He doesn't like that. He gave specific rules on that. So I try to stay away from that. Let people do what they do. But that is the Braxtons. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season for sure. I'm not so timid about, turning on their episodes, because it has really it was an emotional thing for me. It was very triggering in the grief space, but in a good way. It was something that I needed for sure, and that's part of life and part of the process. So, um I enjoyed it. I will be back soon. We are going to catch up on this Love and Marriage Huntsville drama because I went back into that last episode and I want to kind of talk about that and some of the things that's happening with reality TV and Winter's interview and things. So I will be right back today with the part 2 look of Love and Marriage Huntsville because y'all, I just started reviewing this show and we may not even get another episode, which I wouldn't be, disappointed about that. But there is some more things that were missed. So I'll get into that. And don't forget to check the community wall because, it's promotion time. And this is the first one of 3. So I'm having fun with it. The trivia question was, what is Mr. Braxton's profession? I gave the answer in this video. So if you didn't catch it, you're going to have to go back and listen because that's the whole point of it, people. Is to listen. I am honored to be in this space. I am honored to have you guys watching and listening. I hope that you feel comfortable giving me your feedback and your comments. And if you want to come up, just let me know and I'll drop a link and we can come up and chop it up. So, shout out to the Braxtons. This is a really good episode. I love how they showed up for Lil Kev, and I sincerely hope that things are getting better for him. And I don't know the space between him and his dad. I'm not going to advocate for that, for real, because I ain't never liked the man for real, if I'm honest. But, I don't know him personally. And Sean, go ahead and get that proposal out, honey, because the family is on your neck. It's your girl, Duchess. I am out. I will be back around 3:30. I just need to get things set up, and we're going to get into Love and Marriage Huntsville. I appreciate you guys so, so much. Thank you for watching. Watching. What is watching? I'm so silly, y'all. Anyway, I love y'all down. I so appreciate you. I'll be back in about 30 minutes and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.